Hello, and welcome to PTC Cast episode 33. Today, Chris and I talk a little bit about changing up your training routine and trying to keep yourself invested. And we also talk a little bit about intermittent fasting and some of the air quotes rules that can come with that and different subjects within nutrition and training that come with a hard set of rules that, to be honest, are going to come with some wiggle room and depend upon who you are and what you need for your goals. This is PTC Cast episode 33, brought to you by ProgressThroughChange.com, where you can get your 4 easy habits for fat loss guide. It takes about 10 seconds to download, and it'll give you 4 habits that can help you change your life. Check it out. Enjoy the show. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Everything's rolling?
Yep.
Cool. You took a break from lifting.
Yeah, man.
You are breaking from lifting.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks,
hitting
actually.
the break. So it's been 2 weeks since you've been within the gym.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna... It's kind of weird, but I like it.
What do you mean when you say weird?
Well, because I haven't, taken intentionally a break from the gym, for like 6 years.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why it's weird. During COVID, obviously that wasn't intentionally. If the gym was open, I would have still been powerlifting.
You were still curling basketball hoops and...
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But now...
doing lateral raises with bikes.
Yeah, and now, gym doesn't cross my mind.
Haven't even thought of it.
No, and when I do think of it, I'm like, I don't want to go.
So have you been doing anything for your physical activity right now? Are you doing daily walks? Are you still,
At first, it was
dirt
walks.
biking? What are you up to?
So at first it was dirt bike riding. The person that I was riding with that actually loads the bike, he just had foot surgery. So I have to wait for that to heal up in order for us to go back dirt bike riding.
Okay.
So in the meantime, it was really just walks, but it wasn't consistent walks.
Sure.
But now that I got my bike shipped in 2 days ago.
Oh, your mountain bike that you're talking about? That's awesome,
not
dude.
shipped in or to the shop, and
You gotta go pick it up.
yeah, I picked it up, and I've been riding the
Dude,
hell
that's
out
awesome.
of that, dude.
That's
So
awesome, man.
Yesterday was the second day that I had it, and yesterday I went on a 2-hour ride just
That's
around
awesome, man.
around my town, and
Yeah.
I was actually, I know this is stupid, but I was thinking about riding here, but I was like, shit, that's like a 4-hour ride.
That'd be a pretty far ride.
Yeah, but maybe next time.
You
I don't
could,
have,
dude.
Yeah, because I didn't have any spare tires, anything like that. I guess to be prepared for
Your
it.
backup stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe next time. But I am gonna ride to Irwin Park, which is about an hour 15 minutes from my apartments to Irwin Park.
Okay.
So I mean, that's a good in between.
That's a lot of cardio, man. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
So
and when
it's
you
been
go,
fun.
are you just enjoying? Are you trying to set yourself a pace? Are you just what's
right now I'm just enjoying
Yeah.
and listening to some audio stuff
Mm-hmm.
and
audio
really
books,
just
podcasts?
exploring.
What do you got?
Well, I have an app called Why Music on my phone, which is just instead of paying for premium or YouTube Premium, I can go in there and download whatever for audio.
Sure.
Yeah, so as of right now, dude, it's been a lot of psychology stuff
Okay.
that I've been listening to.
Interesting.
So I've kind of just been devouring that while riding. And again, when I ride, I just explore. I just go, wherever I want to go. And the cool thing, or I guess what I try to make myself do, is explore as far away from my apartments as I can, so that I have to go back.
Yeah, find your way back. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
It's funny that you say that because it's every time I think about that in the mornings when I'm walking Cora. It's all right, whatever distance I'm going, I got to come back too. So it's
Yeah.
you always got to keep that in the back of your brain. No, I think that's awesome, man. That's a really good way to keep yourself moving and keep yourself healthy while you're taking a break from the gym. And I personally think there's a huge benefit to just being outside, especially this time of year where you can get some sunshine, get some vitamin D, and enjoy that break from the monotony that can be weightlifting, So, and with the bike riding, you can go a different direction every day, man. You can just take a different turn. You can just kind of wing it and see where you land,
Yeah,
so I think
man.
that's pretty cool.
And one of the silly things, when I was, I guess, being obsessed with lifting is I wouldn't go outside in the sun because it would kill my performance in the gym. So now I feel kind of more free,
Yeah.
being able to go out and actually do shit that I wouldn't allow myself to do before.
Do you think it would actually do you think it would actually affect your performance in the gym, being outside all day? Or do you think...
I think for
that would be-
powerlifting it would.
Yeah.
Especially for the main lifts. But, if I was just if I wasn't powerlifting, which I've actually been thinking about this, then I think it would be an even greater addition to, going outside or I guess it wouldn't be a hindrance, going outside
no, I
and
agree.
then going into the gym.
I think it's all net
Yeah.
positive. Maybe
Yeah,
if you are
exactly.
talking about trying to powerlift at the top level, it's not going to be, especially if you're doing like a couple hours in a day. But I mean, as far as like health goes, man, and as far as like
It's
you
perfect.
obviously haven't lost any lean tissue or anything over the last week, 2 weeks, so it's like you're definitely doing a good job of taking care of yourself. So I think that's cool, man, and it's an important topic to discuss because sometimes we get so buried within whatever maybe our specific goal or approach is that it seems like there's nothing else. It seems like the only thing you could do was power lift and
that there's
train
only
squat
one
bench.
way.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like now that you've just kind of essentially opened a new door for yourself as far as approaching your health and wellness goes, which I think is really cool, man. Have you found it adjust like anything as far as your mood, your hunger levels, like your sleep? Like, have you noticed it carry over to anything else in your life?
Dude, so mainly my sleep.
Really?
Yeah, so when I was powerlifting, I would spend sometimes like at least 2.5 hours in the gym, and on the really taxing, leg days, sometimes
like
it would
3
go
or
up to
4
like,
hours,
just ridiculous amounts of time.
For sure.
And in order to recover from that, I guess I had to sleep a lot.
Yeah.
Now that I'm, haven't lifted, I seriously feel like I can stay up, for a ridiculous amount of time, and I don't really need as much sleep. Like, it's been a night and day difference when it comes to sleep. To
The
the
nervous
point,
system probably just isn't as taxed just from
Yeah.
not having to do those all out 1 rep maxes and things like that.
yeah, it's been to the point where I actually have to force myself to, go to sleep, and it's crazy now that I'm like, wow, there's so much time in the day.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm saying all of this like kind of like all the benefits
Sure.
as to not, lifting.
But it's just in reference to where
the
you
way
were,
that I was
you know?
lifting.
Yeah.
I was lifting. I was probably spending too much time
Yeah.
in the gym.
Yeah.
So this is like, just the opposite side of the spectrum from
Mm-hmm.
it. And I know that I'm just enjoying it right now, but I'm sure in a couple weeks that I'm going to be excited to, go
Yeah.
back into the gym and to start improving that part of my life again.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's always going to be a part of my life,
Yeah.
lifting.
You just need a breather.
Yeah, I just need a breather.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And it's funny that you mentioned that because anytime that I either take like a family vacation or just a light week of training or even just, whatever, miss a couple sessions so I'm out of the gym for a week, whatever it is, I always find that it's like as soon as I get back, maybe there is one session, maybe two of like feeling the water and trying to, figure out where you're at. But it's almost like that excitement is there again.
Yes.
I also in that moment try to incorporate just some different challenges and different things I might not usually emphasize to keep that excitement there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's something along the lines of like, maybe I'm going to challenge stability instead this time around, or maybe I'm going to focus on sticking with one weight and just upping the reps every week, or, I'm going to work on tempo. You know what I mean? Just finding a different way to be challenged. Cause I feel like, and we've discussed this before, so we don't have to go too deep into it, but a lot of what powerlifting is, and it's monotony. And that's a lot of what bodybuilding is too. It's monotony. It's being able to do the same thing over and over again, love that process and get better at that process. But, when you start to give up everything else in your life and put your entire focus and lens on this one routine of monotonous, move the bar from point A to point B, it can drive you crazy after, 10 years or however long you've been doing it. And so I think it's really cool, man, that you've been you've made this shift where you're trying something a little bit different. And now I think whenever you do go back in the gym, either you won't put as much emphasis on those big three right off the bat, or even if you do, it'll be a little bit more enjoyable. And maybe you'll find some other things you can challenge while you're in there, So sometimes I think it's good to just, I'm going to say the phrase like take your foot off the gas, but literally like get out of the car, take a second, and then get back in. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's okay to take a pit stop, man. So I think it's really good that you've been doing that. And I also think I think our joints, tendons, and ligaments can all benefit from, a certain period of time off, whether that's 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. I don't know. Depends who you are. But I think we all can benefit from a time period of maybe not as much or very little resistance training, a decent amount of movement, whether that's walking or biking or whatever, like light impact, trying to keep stress as low as you can, and basically just giving your body a chance to recover, giving your body a chance to breathe, to resensitize to all that stimulus, to just have a second, Yeah. So I think that's something that's really beneficial. I've actually seen quite a few body transformations happen with people quite a few like significant weeks of reduction in body fat, pulling out resistance training, and just focusing on walking, sleeping, and lowering stress. And so I've always thought that was really interesting. And of course, these are like small periods of time. Over the long term, yes, you want to be resistance training.
Definitely.
Yes, you want to be trying to get stronger and building lean tissue. But at the end of the day, you do have to recognize that it's a physical stress on your body that requires a certain amount of recovery capacity. And sometimes it can help to just take that stress out all the way, or whatever, 75% of the way for a certain period of time.
Yeah, it is weird living without, the pains and aches and all of that. Because
how weird! It's weird not having any pain.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
and I think that's also why I'm enjoying this time off, is because like having joint pain and all of that. That was kind of, I'm sure that was because I was training wrong, but at the same time, that was like a part of my normal life. Like it was normal to be sore as hell, all day, every day.
I mean, even if you're talking about like a good muscular sore or whatever, like, I mean, it still sucks to sit out on the toilet or to get in and out of the car. Or, you know what I mean?
Cautiously do that.
Yeah,
stuff
exactly.
And slowly. Yeah. But I think whenever I do go back into the gym, it's going to be like like maybe a rewind button, to where my body's gonna, enjoy doing what I'm doing again, and my mind's gonna start figuring out like maybe some creative ways to lift, rather than what I was doing before. Because before I was training the exact same way with the exact same accessories, for years on end. So it just got to the point where, like you said, the monotony, like I started noticing it, and I guess that kind of killed it for me. But now, when I get back into it, I'm going to be doing it different, and
trying to have some fun with it.
Yeah, and the fact that it is different,
it's
that monotony will be gone, and
it's really interesting, man, because in the confines, or maybe I shouldn't say in the confines, maybe that's the wrong word, but within the topic of progress, right? Novelty is totally irrelevant. Like having something new or fun or like air quotes different is totally irrelevant as far as progress goes. You could theoretically do the same thing forever and keep getting stronger and better at it, so long as you're injury free, recovering right, all those ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, like novelty doesn't matter except for your enjoyment. And that's when it's like, to me, that's what makes it one of the most important things maybe for some people, because it's like one of those things where I like to follow pretty much the same program to a T for anywhere from like 4 to 12 weeks. And then I usually just scratch it all and start over. And whether that means like I keep in some same exercises or change some different things depending on what it is. But, I have some clients, man, who it's like, okay, pretty much every session looks exactly the same because I can tell that person is dug in, is enjoying what we're doing, is at a good spot, doesn't feel any burnout or anything like that. And I don't need to do any sort of novelty or anything creative or anything like, and I'm using air quotes like fun. It doesn't mean the boring, monotonous stuff can't be fun, but I'm just saying from a standpoint of like, you don't need to make up random things just because, unless you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Unless it's one of those things that, number one, the exercise actually makes sense and is effective, but number two, like it's something different that you haven't done that you'd like to challenge. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like the baseline of everything is adherence. And if it's going to help you adhere to something by having some variety or having something different within there, there's nothing wrong with that at all. If anything, you should probably keep doing that to keep yourself excited. And I also think too, on another, just to build on that a little bit, like I think some people tend to hit things harder when it's new.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
There's no like base of reference. They don't know where the ceiling is.
They're
like,
figuring everything out.
Yeah. So it's like, imagine you've been doing like a flat dumbbell press for like literally a year. Let's say for a year, your only chest exercise was dumbbell bench press. Well, then that year in, finally you change it to pec deck or to cable fly or something. And even though like resistance profiles and bracing and alignment and all those things aside, like sometimes literally just changing the exercise so that it's something different is exciting enough to make you want to work harder again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like it's just that like, whew, let's get it. And I'm kind of the same way. Like if I switch from a gaining phase to a dieting phase, or a dieting phase to a gaining phase, or I switch which muscle I'm currently focused on, you know,
hit it harder than
prioritize.
before.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it can just be that mind switch, that novelty that like gets you fired up, you know?
Because it's different, and yeah, it's a challenge sometimes, and then but it's fun to dive in to things whenever it is a novelty, because you're just processing so much information, and you're learning so much, even if it's, you know, like with the pec deck, you're not doing that for like a long time each set. Like maybe a set will last like a minute or something, but in that minute,
you're hitting
like
it.
Yeah, and your mind is going like, okay, feeling this. Okay, let me push it like this, and
Part of it, I think, as well. It's funny that you brought in like where your mind is with that. Part of it, I think, is just the focus as well. If you do the same
100%.
exercise every single time for a year or 5 years or 10 years or whatever,
don't have
like
to be as focused.
Eventually, like because it's like a muscle memory, you don't have to think about it, which could be a good or a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't have to think about it, well, great, you've got it on lock. But are you so lazy that you're not thinking about it, or are you just that locked in that you're not thinking about it? There's two different thought processes there, and you got to respect the weight every time, because that's a way injury can happen for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Is thinking you've got it on lock, not paying attention, and then moving the wrong way with
that's how I messed
a significant amount of load.
Yeah, that's how I messed up. I guess I don't know if it was the trap or the scapula.
Something in there.
Yeah, but that's how I messed that up, because I did the deadlift a shitload of times, and one time while I think it was warming up or my top set, it was after my top set, I picked up the weight, and then I kind of just nonchalantly let it down, and pop, something just popped there, and
shit.
It's not as bad now, but I mean, shit, that was like a 4-month long injury now, and you know, if I'm on my computer typing, it'll get tight, and then sure enough, I'll like stretch it out, and then it'll go.
Yeah.
Why? Just because of that one time where, I guess I didn't respect the movement and got lazy with movement patterns instead of being focused and doing what I should have done.
And it's wild too, because it can just be all those stars align in that one day, and it just wasn't there. You know, I had that serious deadlift goal for a while, and I got all the way up to 310 for 10. I was trying to hit 315 for 20, and I had to go ahead and put it on a pause because I messed up my back. Not terribly bad. Like, you know, I could walk. It was achy, and if I'm going to take a shot in the dark, I'm going to say I pulled a muscle somewhere in my lower back. But basically where I was going with that is like the day that I pulled it, dude, I felt great. Like, not after the pull, obviously, but it was like warming up and everything, and all my warm-up sets felt good. Like, my energy was there. Like, I was having some caffeine. I was like bumping some music. I think I was going into work late that day, so I had slept in a little bit, and it was like, man, I was feeling good. And it was like third rep felt something weird, and I was at the top, and I was like, am I going to go again or not? And I decided not to go again, luckily.
That's smart.
I just,
Thankfully.
you got to live to train another day, But yeah, man, I mean, it's enough to like, it's in those moments that I don't want to say you're not paying attention, but it's almost like you have to, it's like you're driving on the highway, right? You can't go too slow because then everybody's passing you and you're going to cause a wreck. You can't go too fast because then you're swinging by everybody and you're going to hit something. You know what I mean? It's like you have to find that right cruise control. So it's like if you feel good, keep yourself in check. If you don't feel great, well, try to audit it, see where you're at, and then maybe see if you can push the gas a little bit more. But if it's not there, it's not there, Yeah,
I think that was also one of my problems when it came to, doing the same thing for all those years is I kind of got overconfident with my ability to be able to do, certain movements and, certain weights. Yeah. To the point where, once again, man.
With the coaster, bro.
To the point where, if something wasn't feeling right during the day, like, maybe I wasn't able to brace right and my lower back was feeling compromised. Yeah. Well, in my head, I'd be like, I've done this shit for 5 years. Nothing's going to happen.
It's be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I keep on going up to the point where, I'm deadlifting with only my back. And, I'm very lucky that I didn't go to Snap City doing any of that stuff. But, there were times where I was done with those exercises and my back would be like, toasted for a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
it would, hinder my lifts for, those couple weeks when I should have just, backed off that
Yeah.
day and, maybe recovered a little bit more into the
Yeah.
next exercise. So yeah, I guess I was getting uncautious, and yeah, I think this break is just going to be overall good for me.
Yeah.
Kind of help me not take lifting for granted, and maybe just get a refresh on lifting.
To make a little bit of a pivot there, has there been any sort of changes you've made within your nutrition in regards to that, or
Yeah,
have you just kind of laid off with tracking food, or where are you at with that right now?
So this is kind of like an undisciplined thing, and then also in my head, it's like a not needed thing when it comes to the tracking.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't have any specific fitness goals right now, it's kind of just been
Winging it.
Yeah, winging it.
Yeah.
Just making sure that I eat, good foods and not bullshit. And I definitely need to eat a lot less, or I feel the need. I don't feel the need to really eat as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because back then, like, I was just eating so much food in order to, I guess, maintain my energy.
Right, because when you were training for that meet, you were losing weight on like 4,000 calories a day or something. Like
4,250 calories a day.
That's wild.
Yeah, and then the days where I was training, I would add in an extra, I guess, 300 calories, because it was like 100 grams of carbs that I would add in for my training sessions. So, and now I don't really eat all that much, but now that I've been biking, I do feel my body like, okay, we need to eat. We need to ramp this back up.
Yeah.
So I've unconsciously, I guess,
Kind of
added
playing
in
it by
a
ear.
couple meals.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I got you. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I one of the reasons I asked is, maybe after I prep for this next show or somewhere down the road, I would like to take a period of time where maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, where I don't want to say I don't do any resistance training, but I definitely pull back and I really just focus on walking and eating as clean as I can, because really what I would like to see is kind of how the body can adjust and how the body holds lean tissue without resistance training, but with optimal protein levels.
That's exactly what I've been studying too, bro.
That's kind of something I've been thinking about a lot recently, because I think it might be a little bit more helpful long term to, maybe have a week or 2 weeks off the gym every year. And within that time frame, see if there's some serious reductions I can make in my diet, just for sort of the same kind of thought process, like give my body a chance to resensitize to everything, like just try to have a time period where things are a little bit simpler and less, because it's funny, man, like, and I think this can be one of those, the grass is always green on the other side, kind of discussions. But prepping for this show right now, I'm 12 weeks out today, and I'm eating 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
And the amount of time that I'm spending eating right now is just ridiculous.
Yes, bro.
And it's like, not only, and I'm not even talking about meal prep, but actually like microwaving food and then eating that food. Yeah, man.
takes
and
up so much
and
time,
I'm not
bro.
going to sit here and like complain about it too much, because I know there's people who are dieting and work, and it's grass is green on the other side. But like, again, I think I would like to have a small time period out of my day, or maybe a week or two here or there, where it's like, all right, have like a meal or two a day, and that's all. Then, have a little bit more time to work, or, do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
So, but no, actually, I wanted to ask you, have you ever done any sort of intermittent fasting or anything like that?
Yeah, whenever I was losing my weight, I would cut my meal times off from, or I would only eat from, I think it was like 12 p.m. to like 6 p.m. And I did a 3-day fast during that time period.
How was that? I haven't gotten past 2 days.
I do like it. I feel like it's the 3-day fast. I liked it.
Okay.
Like, honestly, it felt like a relief.
Yeah.
Being away from food.
Yeah.
And then, also a challenge. I guess the reason why it wasn't all that stressful for me, though, is because I had flavored water.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, flavored water kind of curbed.
I feel like if I was drinking like a Powerade or like a sparkling water or something like that, that could make it pretty like smooth, at least through like the harder periods of time. But I've heard that, well, and like I said, I only did a 2-day, and to be 100% honest, that wasn't very challenging at all.
Yeah.
And I felt great on it. But I imagine like in those challenging periods, like a great tool would just be like some black coffee or some sparkling water, or just something to kind of suppress your appetite a little bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, those things. Whenever you're fasting, and I guess it also depends on what type of fasting you're doing. You know, because if you're doing, I don't know if you know. What am I talking about? I was about to say like there's a specific rules to fasting, but
Well,
I'm sure flavored water is not a.
When you say rule, like when you say
What does that even
rule,
mean?
it's and that's the thing. It becomes a weird discussion because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, are you talking about like, you know, I'm not trying to put a name on it or anything. I'm literally just saying like, are you having time periods where you're not eating food?
Yeah.
But a follow up to that is, I have pretty much. I'm not going to say always, because I have had, you know, periods of time where I'm training in the evenings or, you know, afternoons or something like that. But I have actually found, man, that I 100% am stronger and feel better on an empty stomach when I'm lifting.
Really?
100%. Yeah. I've really nailed a routine recently where I'm lifting first thing in the morning. So basically I get up, let the dogs out, have a cup of coffee, take Cora on about a 20-minute walk, and then I lift. I will say I've been using some supplementation. So I've been using a pre-workout that's a little bit of carb powder, and some salt and some electrolytes, some other electrolytes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I've been doing an intra workout as well with just some essential amino acids and some other stuff for blood flow. And that's not all super important, but kind of where I was going with that is I'm not sure if it's maybe the mental clarity that comes with being on an empty stomach, if it's just the fact that I haven't had to sit down and digest anything. You know, I'm not really sure, but I have noticed that, you know, before, but now that this has kind of been my routine within this prep, I can 100% say that I am someone who functions better on an empty stomach. And I've had a couple of clients here and there that do the same, but for the most part, I find most people prefer like a small breakfast or something like that in their stomach beforehand. Where were you at? Or when you were lifting, kind of where were you at with that? Because I know you typically train in the evenings, so you probably had a good amount of food in you by then, yeah?
Yeah, so for me, for heavy lifting, it's a necessity that I have, you know, quite a bit of food in me. Like during you know, that powerlifting prep, I needed to have, or in my head, I guess, I needed to have at least 3,500 calories inside of my system. No, I'm sorry, at least 3,000 calories inside of my system.
Really quick before you move on, how exactly, you know, I know it's just a thought process or a routine thing, but how did you kind of like come to that number? Like what made you think that it was like that amount of food? Because I'm not arguing that, of course you need something fresh in your system and ready to go when you're trying to pick up 800 pounds off the fucking floor. But I guess my question is, you know, what if you had done it with half the amount of food in you? Would that maybe have gone better?
I don't think it would have.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's kind of like a lot of factors, because for this instance, like for this powerlifting prep, I knew that I woke up at least 342 pounds.
342.
I mean, I'm sorry, 242.
I was like,
wait,
a couple years in the history. Right. Yeah, a couple years ago, man.
I weighed at least 242 pounds in the morning, and I knew that by the time that I was done eating breakfast, my snack, my 2 lunches, and then my pre-workout meal, I would be at least 248 pounds.
Okay, quick pause on that again. So that's interesting, because you're basically using the scale as a measurement of how hydrated and full you were before going to the gym. I've never used a scale like that before. That's interesting. I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, so that's, and not only that, I do like being, I guess, more bloated, or I don't even know if bloated is the word, but just bigger just like in the midsection.
And I'm the opposite. That's hilarious.
Yeah, well, so only for strength training though, because it improves my bracing. You know, I'm able to. That's a good point. I'm able to get an extra maybe half inch or inch into the just pushing like against the belt, and that dramatically increases my strength. Yep. But I do know that if I'm doing any other type of performance when it comes to like a physical activity besides strength, being on an empty stomach definitely makes me feel a lot more efficient, and I'm able to do things a lot longer.
Have you rode your bike on an empty stomach yet?
Not yet, no.
You should give it a try, man, because my last show prep I did last year in 2021, every day for the last 31 days, I did an hour of cardio every morning. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's necessary or you have to do that. That was just something I wanted to try. Yeah. But where I was going with that is I always did it fasted. And dude, like hopping off that bike, like fasted first thing in the morning with like my blood flowing, and I usually would take like a vasodilator just so like some beetroot extract or something.
You feel good, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like my waist felt like super pulled in. Like I felt like had a little bit of a high just from being on the bike, and you know the blood's flowing and everything. My legs were all veiny and everything. Yeah. Like it felt great, man. Like
yeah.
So I really enjoy being like on an empty stomach, but I could see like, okay, if you're powerlifting and you're trying to move as much weight as possible, I could see how that wouldn't be optimal. I have a client who I've really had a blast with. He's oh gosh, I can't remember if he's 16 or 17, and I don't even know how long we've been working together off the top of my head. But he actually had a habit of a really long time. He would actually get sick during like every single one of our sessions in the morning. Because he would try to eat in the morning, and he never did anything crazy. He would do like a bar or like 2 eggs or something relatively light. And I wouldn't even say it was like the intensity of our sessions, because, you know, of course we're working hard, but sometimes we would be like, man, maybe 3-4 sets in of like upper body, you know, we've done like 2 sets of dips and 2 sets of pull-ups or something. And he had to like go blow some chunks. Wow. And I was like, dude, that's not like a normal thing. And so, you know, we tried it. We had him on an empty stomach for a while, and he did great on that. And he just started incorporating food in the morning again, and he's done well on that. But it's just interesting how differently people's bodies can vary with what's in them, what's not in them, and how they feel and how they don't, you know. And I don't know if that's a genetic thing, a digestion thing, a food choice thing, but it's wild, man. But I know that I for sure, like, sometimes even on like today, like a Saturday, I'm not training today, but if I was, you know, maybe I could have worked my day where I could have done my work, had breakfast, we podcast, and then I lifted. But even having that one meal in me, I think I would have just preferred doing it first thing in the morning. And maybe it's just because I'm a hyper routine type A person that I love just
keeping it consistent.
Doing it first thing in the morning, so nothing else is going to get in the way. You know, well, like you said, yes, the routine, but more so just because there's nothing else that can get in the way if I know I'm getting up early enough to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be a weird combination of that, but that's something that I definitely encourage people to kind of mess with and see what they think, because, you know, everyone's always like, oh, you have to eat, you know, 2 hours pre-workout, or you have to, and I just, you know, maybe if you want to sit here and have the discussion of like purely optimal or and when I say purely optimal, I think I'm using that synonymously with the word perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think perfect exists, because I don't think there's a true way to measure that.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe if let's say my digestion was perfect, well then maybe yes, it would be more optimal for me to eat first thing in the morning before I train. But because I just said I'm a super type A and I like my routine of doing it first thing,
exactly.
And then maybe
there's too many factors.
Exactly, maybe my digestion's not perfect, and so it takes up food a while to go through. I mean, I don't know. I'm strictly just trying to open the conversation of optimal is always going to be within the confines of like you and who you are. There's never going to be like a what's right or what's perfect. I was just having a conversation with the guy at the gym the other day who was like, the guy at GNC told me that your body can only use, you know, X amount of grams of protein in a sitting. It's like, okay, man, maybe that's true, but like, do you mean to tell me if you beat the fuck out of legs for 2.5 hours and you have 40 grams of protein post-workout that 15 of those grams are going to disappear because your body can only use 25? I just don't buy that. Yeah. I just don't buy that, man. Like, I feel like so many people throw around like, and I'm more so just speaking generally here. Yeah. But I think people like throw around like rules and
they just regurgitate stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is too is sometimes people are even like, well, it's cited in this paper or it's from this like meta-analysis, and like, man, that's great that you're doing your research and you're looking into it, but it's all going to be within a lens, within interpretation. You know, you looked at this resistance training study that was done on hyper novices that had never worked out before, and you're someone who's 10 years into their lifting. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, you can't look at all this shit as black and white. Like as corny as it is to say, like a lot of it is trial and error. Mm-hmm. Like make your best educated guess and figure out what works from you and move from there.
Yeah. And it's kind of tough to do trial and error sometimes when you do have those, I guess, preconceived things that you're supposed to follow, or that somebody else told you is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Well,
we get dogmatic about it too, because also when it's something that's important to you, you feel like you
have to defend it.
Yes, and you're going to lose everything if you don't do it. Like the post-workout anabolic window.
Yeah.
Like if I don't eat within an hour of training, what was the point of me just training? And it's like, you really think if you have 40 grams of protein, 59 minutes after your workout, that's better than 60 minutes or 61 minutes after your work. It's like, you can't be so clear cut with it, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're like at the fucking tippity top and you're trying to, do something very specific that needs that exact thing for you, then okay. But guess what? You may not be that person that needs to do that exact thing. Yeah. So, just if you can, try to experiment with some stuff and then draw your own conclusions. And if it works for you, do it. If it doesn't, then move on to the next thing. Yeah. If you feel the need to.
I want a mic drop on that. Let me unplug this and just drop it. Yeah. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.